right.
All right, so we are officially live, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on? We are back with another Las Vegas Raiders live Q&A, off-season talk as usual. I am your host, and I have my co-host, but I'm gonna say myself. I am Darian of the Spotlight Sports Talk, and we have my guy Eli as my co-host here for the show. What is going on, man?
What's going on, Darian? How you doing, pal? We're having some technical difficulties to make matters even worse here, but I'm here in spirit. If you can't see my pretty face, perhaps all of you that are bummed out about that, we can get that going for next week.
Yeah, it's just sometimes with the internet lagging it. I've been having some issues all week that I really couldn't have did any Raiders videos or anything of that nature. So I've been having like some issues as well. But shout out to everybody that's in the chat. And we have an awesome show for y'all today. We have a lot of topics. We have about 8 topics that we definitely going to talk about. Definitely, Raiders offseason stuff. So please come on in, hit the like button, and once we've done those topics, we can have people call into the show and ask us any question that you want to ask as far as Raiders talk or some news that came down from the NFL. So the first thing I really wanted to get into, let me just pull it up on my notes here because I do have my notes out. Just give me 1 second. Cause I know it's like I know it was like the Raiders was named. It was 4 players that was named, 4 members that was named on the All Decade team. Once one team that actually suited up for the Raiders, they was named on the All Decade team. So it was on Monday where the Pro Football Hall of Fame put out their All Decade team between the 2010 and 2019 decade. Although there were no current Raiders players to make the team, but it was 4 former Raiders who were original Raiders at the time. So the ones that I do see is we had Khalil Mack, which we traded for. We traded him to Chicago. Shane Letcher, which was our former punter, and we had Marshawn Lynch, that was on that list as well, and Cordell Patterson. Was on that list. They did say Antonio Brown made the team, but we wasn't counting him because he was never suited as a Raider. So, with those 4 players being former players of the Raiders
Yeah,
making
I
an
wouldn't
all
count. I
decade
wouldn't
team,
count him at all.
yeah, I wouldn't count him at all either. So, with those 4 players making it to the all decade team, how you feel about those 4 players making an all decade team? Eli. I don't know what actually happened with him. Hopefully we could get him back as soon as possible. But yeah, thanks for everybody tuning in. King Savage, are the Raiders defense lit right now? We just need cornerbacks in the draft. We are going to talk about that. We're definitely going to talk about that on tonight's show. So definitely keep the questions there. Definitely keep the questions there. But I do want to talk more about this here. So we're gonna get into a little bit more information about the all decade team where it was that Mac was our 4th overall pick in 2014 draft. He definitely made 3 Pro Bowls and was named to all Pro Bowls twice, including being all pro in 2 different positions at the linebacker position and the DM position. He was one of our best pass rushers that still is in the NFL today. So congratulations to Khalil Mack for making an all decade team. There's no end to, I didn't like Khalil Mack at first. I didn't like him at first, knowing the fact that we did trade him and he had so much to say about the Raiders. But bygones be bygones at the end of the day. So yeah, so shout out to him for making an all decade team. And then you had Shane Letcher. Shane Letcher was drafted by the Raiders in 2000 during John Gruden's first stint with the head coach in Oakland at the time. He did spend his first 13 seasons of his career with us and making 7 Pro Bowls and being named to the All Pro team 6 times. Then in 2013, at the age of 37, we had a chance to play in his hometown for the Houston Texans. It then played for 5 seasons with the Texans, retiring in 2017. season. So even if the final season at the age of 41, he was averaging 49 yards per punt. We did have Marshawn Lynch was on that decade team as well. Um, we did have Marshawn Lynch.
So I'm downstairs. Hopefully this works a little bit better.
Oh, that looks even better, bro. That looks even better, bro. But I was just reading off, some accolades like when Lynch came out of retirement, his hometown for the Raiders in 2017, he did run for 891 yards on 207 carries, 4.3 yards a carry with 7 touchdowns. It was good to see him back home to play for us that one year, but it was cut short by a groin injury with the 6 games, and then you had Cordell Patterson, that was the fourth that made an all-decade team. Played one season with us in 2017, coming off 4 seasons with the Vikings. He was named All-Pro twice as a kick returner, and he gained his all this past season for the Bears. So those 4 players, which is Khalil Mack, Cordell Patterson, Marshawn Lynch, and Shane Letcher, made the all decade team from 2010 to 2019. How you feel about that? How you feel about that?
Well, I mean, there's kind of a theme there, right? Only one of those players. Well, I guess two of those players were drafted by the Raiders. Leckler, you can count that. Leckler made the 2000s all-time team as well, and I kind of really count that as more of a Raiders, centric decade for him. The Raiders, if you look back at all the decade teams, and I think that Raider Wire, somebody put all the Raiders that have played in all the decade teams since the 70s or the 60s. And you can definitely see, especially when Al Davis was going after, veterans past their prime. There's a lot of superstars that didn't really play their best with the Raiders. But you can see some here, like, Marshawn Lynch is one of those that played pretty well, but, he certainly didn't play fantastic with the Raiders. Although he was one of my favorite players. Cordell Patterson played very briefly, and then we drafted Mack and got rid of him. So, it's kind of bittersweet. It's awesome that these guys played for the Silver and Black, but, you don't have the Tim Browns or the Steve Wisniewski's or the, lifelong Raiders. Because, like I said, Leckler only played, I think, one or two of those years last decade with the team.
Yeah, I have to agree. Knowing that this is a 2010 to 2019 considered decade, so it's not really going all the way back to the beginning of the 2000s. But I did want to recognize it, knowing that there's not really too much football out there. There's not really too much going on in the world of sports right now because of the pandemic that's going on right now. But do congratulate those players for making an all decade team. So I want to get into the whole Eli Apple. I want to do this is actually 2 topics into one. The Eli Apple not signing with the Raiders, but we end up yes. I have to agree. They'll be getting Demarius Randall, former safety for the Packers and former safety for the Bears. Not Bears, the Browns, which it looked like we kind of swap players. If you look, Carl Joseph went to the Browns. We get Demarius Randall from the Browns. So as far as this signing, how do you feel about it? Because I think this contract is not too bad to me. I think we didn't break the bank with him either, but I think it was an upgrade to Eli Apple because I know Randall can play both corner and safety. So how did you feel about the pickup of Demarius Randall and not bringing on Eli Apple?
There's not many players that would bum me out more than Eli Apple. So I'm actually, I think it's fortuitous that they actually ended up not being able to sign him. I think that it's a solid depth signing, and he's going to go ahead and compete with Eric Harris on the defensive backfield and add some depth there. I think it's a solid signing. It's not for a lot of money. So, I mean, I think it's good. And I think that's kind of what you're going to see moving forward from the Raiders until maybe some cuts, some big, last second 53-man roster cuts. There's not going to be a lot of big names, I don't think, signed by the Raiders, really. So you're going to see a little bit more of these depth signings.
Right. And I see that the Raiders had about $5 million available in money under the cap, which, it figures out to cost them, to sign the rookie class that's going to come in during the draft. So we end up getting Randall for 1 year, $3.25 million total. Um, plus some incentives that does come with it, but it didn't come with. We don't know what the incentives are. And just imagine if you would have stayed with Eli Apple, because Apple's deal was reportedly to be $6 million against the 2020 cap. Suddenly, that had the money to spend all over again. But I'm kind of happy that we didn't get him. I think Randall is an upgrade to Eli Apple in a sense. I know it's gonna be hard to replace Carl Joseph in some parts of the defense, but not every part. But I think Randall is a better cover safety than Carl Joseph was. It's just in my opinion for what I've seen on film. But I do
I
like,
agree. I agree.
yeah. So I just feel like it was an upgrade because we been getting beat by the pass most of the time than anything else. I mean, we can stop the run. I think we didn't really have problems stopping the run. It was just our back end that really had a problem. And Carl Joseph just couldn't cover nobody, no matter if it was a tight end, no matter if it was a slot. He just could not cover. So bringing in Demarius Randall, I actually love the pickup.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I think it's an upgrade to build that position group. I think it's a solid sign, unlike Eli Apple, who was not a silent solid sign.
All right, so let me just get into this topic. I know this topic is probably going to be an interesting topic because I actually found this. This is according to justblogbaby.com, and they had a where they had, and I know I'm not going in order, but the top five Raiders, five worst free agent signings. I don't want to get into that right now. I think I'm gonna leave that for last because that was just we did have some bad signings. I can't lie. We did have some bad signings over the years as the Raiders, but I'm just trying to find the list because I just had it and it came off my laptop of the top 25 players of 2020 for some reason. I remember number 25 being Maurice Hurst as number 25 for 2020. So I'm trying to find that actual list. Like I'm trying to because I took a screenshot of it and
You're talking about the top 25 players on the roster right now, correct?
yeah, on the roster
Yeah.
right now.
I
So
was actually, so if you look at that list, I was actually pretty surprised. A couple things. One was how low Derek Carr was. You know, take it or leave it, how you see him. You know, he was number 10 and below a couple players that, I think are good players, but I was surprised how low he was, and number two, how high Littleton was. I mean, I believe he was number two, right behind Rodney Hudson, who I would put number one, without a doubt on the Raiders team.
right. And what's going on, EJ? What's going on? I can actually agree, and I actually end up finding it because the picture I had a list of, I just couldn't find the list. But so number 25 is Maurice Hurst. Um, I'm not really too bad with him being number 25. I think he still needs some work. Because he's gonna be in a real tough rotation with the D line now, knowing the D line is we got a lot of people coming into free agency, and we just don't know what the Raiders going to do in the draft as far as getting more D linemen to compete. But Maurice Hurst was number 25. I don't know why Nelson Aguilar is on here number 24. I think he should not be on here in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that one too. But we'll see what happens with Aguilar when they get him into camp and they start playing with him. But there's not a lot of great talent on this roster, so you can see how some of these guys, even both of their new linebacker signings got signed in. You can see how bad the linebacking core was when they're both top 15 and they just got signed to the team. So, nothing really stands out crazy to me, but it's a good look for sure.
Right, and I have to agree. I just felt like with Aguilar, I don't think he should have been on the top 25 list as of right now because he still has a lot to prove. A lot of people have like real bad criticism about him, about dropping balls and not putting up the numbers, knowing that he was a 10th overall pick. So having him as a top 25 player is, I mean, I think you could put him up there right now, but I still think he still has to prove himself at knowing that he's 24. Number 23 is Lamarcus Joyner. I think Lamarcus Joyner should have been 25. I was kind of disappointed in him this past year, knowing that he had a great year with the Rams before he came to us. Um, so number 23, having him over Maurice Hurst, I'm not really too baffled by that, but at the same time, I think he should have been started out at number 25. Number
I,
25.
I don't think that any of these, anything above the 20s and stuff like that, you can kind of interchange any of those guys.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that as well. That's I do see they have most of our free agencies on here too. Our free agents that we got in free agency. Number 22 with free safety Jeff Heath. Number 21 was Eric Harris. How do you feel about Eric Harris being at 21?
Again, I think that it's one of those things that kind of just, once you get into after the 15s, I think it's pretty difficult to kind of rate them. But I think Eric Harris proved to be a pretty good starting quality safety last year. So I think that that's a fair place to put him.
I don't know what just happened again with him. I have no clue what just happened to him again. So we just going to kind of wait for some reason. I don't know. I guess it must have booted out. I'm not too sure. Hopefully we could get him back. But number 20 was Jonathan Abram, our safety from the Raiders that we did get last year, knowing that he did played in the first game and ended up getting hurt afterwards. So with me and how I see this happening, that the Raiders, end up, going with him at the, just let you know, if this is your first time being in here, we are ranking the top 25 players on the roster of 2020. It is a lot of stuff that we do have to talk about as far as these players. So Jonathan Abram was definitely number 20 on this list. I don't see. I'm waiting for him to come back in. Wait for him to come back in at this moment. I don't know what happened. I don't know if the internet died or anything of that nature, but I'm gonna definitely keep going. If he does come back, and then I will recap the list for him. So the number 19th pick they do have as Cleveland Farrell as a number 19th pick. Not 19th pick, but the 19th player of the top 25 players of the roster of 2020 for the Raiders. Now they do have Trayvon Mullen at number 18. I think that's a solid spot for Trayvon Mullen, in my personal opinion, just because I feel like with Trayvon Mullen is that he's young, but at the same time, he definitely grew on me this past year. And that's what I loved about it at the time, knowing that he could get to the ball, and he was learning as he go, and hopefully we can have somebody on the opposite side of him. People say they want Worley back, but I really don't want Worley back. I really don't want him back just because of that, because Trayvon Mullen outplayed Worley in some instance when it comes to coverage wise. So that's just my personal opinion there. I don't know what happened with Eli. Hopefully we could get Eli back, but I am going to still continue with the show. Number 17, that's on the top 25 list of 2020's roster, is number 17, Hunter Renfrow. I think he is a little bit too low here. In my personal opinion, no way he should be number 17. Hunter Renfrow should be top 10 in this top 25 players of the 2020 roster. That's just another personal opinion for me, just because that I see that Hunter Renfrow is a guy that you really can't pinpoint what type of style that he is. Yes, we all know that he is a actual stud in the slot. We all know that. We understand that. But at the same time, I don't know what happened. I don't
Well,
know what happened, but
charm, man.
I don't
Third
know if you
charm.
say what.
The third time's a charm.
Yeah, third time's the charm. So I'm gonna just recap the few that I did do with number 19 was Clean and Farrell. Number 17 with Trayvon Mullen. Number 17 was Hunter Renfro. And I was just stating that I feel like Hunter Renfro should have been higher than 17 just for what he did and how he contributed last year for us, knowing that knowing damn near all our receivers went down, and he stepped up to be a number, being technically he was a number one. So, how do you feel about Renfro being at 17?
I mean, he's higher than Nelson Aguilar. That's okay for me. I don't remember if Williams, where Tyron Williams was at. Where was he at again? I think we got.
So Williams was at 15.
Okay, so yeah, he's a couple ahead of Renfro. That makes sense because I would put him a little bit higher because I think that last year was just a bad year for Williams. I think he's going to have a much better year this year, especially if we get another wide receiver in the draft. Renfro is a good player. I think he could have been after the year he had a little bit higher, but I think he was fine.
Yeah, I could actually agree with that. I just feel like Hunter Renfro. I mean, personally, I think Hunter Renfro was it could have been at least top 15, top 10 in some instance. But going through this list, I can't be mad at him being at 17. So number 16, they have Marcus Mariota. I think that's a proven spot there, but I think it's an upgrade to our quarterback position as far as a backup for Derek Carr. Um, like you was just talking about Tyrell Williams. Tyrell Williams is number 15 on his list. Hopefully he can stay healthy and help us out. And we can when we get that rookie wide receiver, no matter if it's Judy, Ruggs, CeeDee Lamb, whoever they get in that first round as a wide receiver, they can help out Tyrell Williams and Renfro as well. But we already talked about Tyrell Williams. Then we had Carl Nasbitt at number 14. And then Gabe Jackson at 13. How do you feel about Gabe Jackson being there at 13?
I mean, he didn't have the year last year. I think that everybody was really expecting him to. If Gabe Jackson in 2016 would have been up in the top 5 players on our team, I think, right now at this point. He just really hasn't played up to that ability the last couple years, last couple seasons, and I think that hurt him. I still think he's a top talent offensive guard, and I expect bigger things from him this year. But yeah, I mean, after the performance he had last year, that makes sense.
Okay. So, I mean, it has been some trade rumors about Gabe Jackson as well, knowing because of his contract. He was on the trade block. I don't know if the Raiders are still going to move him. How you feel about Gabe Jackson being on the trading block? Now I think it's because of his contract, but at the same time he wasn't as productive last year due to injuries. But when he was in there, it wasn't himself that we end up getting for him in free agency. So how you feel about him being on the trade block as well?
I think it makes sense just because he does make a lot of money for a guard, but he's also an upper echelon guard when he's healthy, and I think that you get a lot more for him at that money than you can get from somebody else at this point. I don't see unless you're trading him for another guard that's starting quality and that's good. Gabe Jackson is a good guard. He might be a little bit overpaid, but right now he's more. You're getting more for him right now for that money than you would somebody else for less money. If that makes any sense, he's still a worthwhile entity for the Raiders.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of Gabe Jackson. I just want him to improve from last year's season. That's all I really want to see the improvement from with him. I really think, honestly, I was kind of shocked to see him on the trade block, but at the same time, I can see why he was on the trading block from a business aspect, not just because of a playing aspect. It was more of a business of his contract on why he was on the trading block. Number 12, we have Nick Kowalski. We definitely want to get into Nick Kowalski and what he said, why he decided to become a Raider. That's another topic that we will get into. Um, Number 11, Jonathan Hackins. Jonathan Hankins. I'm sorry, Jonathan Hankins. Now Hankins, another D lineman that's on that same part of the line as Maurice Hurst. How did you feel about this spot for Jonathan Hankins?
I'm kind of surprised he's up there. I think he would be kind of more in the 15 realm. But I mean, again, like I said, people are kind of, he's not a top five talent. I would actually put Hurst in front of Hankins. I don't understand why he's up that high. If you're going to put Maurice Hurst as number 25, I think that Hurst brings a little bit more to the table, not just run stuffing ability like Hankins does. I think he brings a little bit more in his ability to pressure the quarterback and is a little bit more dynamic. So, I mean, I would flip those guys almost, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, and I absolutely have to agree. I just felt like Maurice Hurst at 25. I mean, I don't know. I really think Jonathan Hankins could have been 25, and you would have put Maurice Hurst at 11. It's kind of vice versa for me. Honestly, I seen much of Hankins, but Maurice Hurst was a little bit better this year, in my personal opinion. But Hankins, I think he's a little bit. I just think at number 11, I just don't think that's the spot for him. He should be at least between the 25 and 20 realm. I can't see him between the 20 to 15 realm. That's just something I can't see him at. But I think 24, 25 would have been the right place for Hankins.
Yeah, we're in the 20 somewhere.
All right, so we go into this debatable right here. I don't understand why Derek Carr is at number 10. I don't understand it. I don't know who be doing these lists or doing these rankings of 2020, but why is Derek Carr at number 10 on the top 25 players, the rosters of 2020? Please give me your opinion on this, because I'm ready to snap about this.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I would snap about it, but I mean, honestly, I think that he has performed a lot more. I think that, or better, I should say, than a couple other players on the roster that are up ahead. It's crazy that at number 10, usually your quarterback is supposed to be one of your top five best players. He's certainly paid like a top five best player on the team. Let's see if and again, let's go back to 2016 when we're talking about Gabe Jackson. You go 2016, he's probably the second best player on your team other than Khalil Mack, right? So it is crazy to see number 10. I mean, he didn't have a spectacular year last year. If he can go ahead and become a top five best player on the team, the Raiders are a playoff team for sure.
I just feel that a lot of the Raider Nation really don't give. I mean, understanding that Carr been there for 6 years. I mean, his numbers has been good. I mean, it's not the same that he was in 2016 when he had the MVP run year and he broke his leg and stuff like that. But I think he's been pretty solid. He's not did too much. He didn't do. I mean, he did too much, but at the same time, he didn't do too much. I think it depends on the playbook as well. So sometimes some things you really can't blame on Carr, but some things you can to make him reason why that he is number 10. So I think just if you're going off of last year's stats, and I know that we didn't make the playoffs, that people had a problem with Carr all year, but the numbers don't lie either. Why he should be a top 5 player on this list, in my personal opinion. If you're going to put him in the top 5, I'll probably put him between 4 and 5, just because it wasn't a successful year that we wanted as a whole, or offensively, knowing that we had Jacobs had his great career with us. But I mean, not great career, but great year, great rookie season with us. But I just feel like number 10 is a bit too low for Derek Carr.
Yeah, I mean, not too. I agree, but I mean, but then you're saying the Jacobs, you're saying some players that we're going to talk about, Waller and all those guys. Those guys deserve to be in the top 5. There are. I think that there's another free agent signing as well that's up here that is a little. I'm a little curious about, but I could see Carr being like around 8. So 10 isn't crazy, but it's just interesting that your starting quarterback, that's your franchise quarterback, is only your 10th best player on your team. That's a little interesting to me.
Yeah, and it's kind of skeptical to me as well, knowing that y'all say Derek Carr is your guy, but you put him at number 10 out of the top 25 players, and then you have a Malik Collins that's higher than him, which he never played a down with us. So I'm just kind of lost on that he's number 10. That's what made me kind of confused because number 9 is Richie Incognito. Which I don't have a problem with this here. I think he's kind of improved, but
I
I don't
think
think he
Richie,
should be higher than Derek Carr.
I agree, and that's I think that's one of the him and Collins are two of the players where I'm like, do you really need to put? I get that people aren't on the Derek Carr train. I get that. I'm one of them, but I mean, you can't. I don't think you could say that those two players are better than Derek Carr. I don't think you can as of right now.
Yeah, because I know the number 9 on the list was Richie Incognito. Then number 8 was Colton Miller, and then number
Bernie,
7
he isn't
was
a
Malik
proven year
Collins.
this year. Derek Carr isn't a proven year this year, and if he can prove that he's a top 5 player on our team, again, like I said, if he's a top 5 player in the Raiders this year, the Raiders are in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I just feel like if now since what they've been under 2 years under John Gruden, right? This will be the third year under John Gruden's offense, right? So this has got to be the year for Derek Carr to get us over the hump. But at the same time, our defense got to get us over the hump. Our defense has to help us as well. So we just can't blame everything on Derek Carr. That defense have to make stops for us so Derek Carr can have more snaps and have more possessions to get us back into a game. So
I'm interested as well. Speaking of Richie Incognito at number 9, how he is so much further ahead of Gabe Jackson. I certainly don't. I think Richie Incognito had a great year last year. I think he was everything we wanted in a free agent signing and more. He was a great locker room guy, and wasn't he was pretty much everything Montez Perfect wasn't for the Raiders last year. And I think that those guys are both good guards, and I think that they make up. If everybody stays healthy, this is going to be a very good offensive line. But I think that you could see that people are souring on Gabe Jackson because he is paid so much money, and everyone loves Richie Incognito because he had such a great year. Let's hope that Richie Incognito continues to have he doesn't fall off next year, because that would be a major problem as well.
yeah, that's interesting. You took the words right out. You took the words right out of my mouth, brother. You took the words right out of my mouth with that one. But Malik Collins, I'm kind of like interested. Like, why is he number 7 on this list? I don't get it. Knowing that you put him over Carl Nassib, which Nassib has a. If you want to look at stats from last year, according to last year, Nassib had a better year than Malik Collins. Just from what I see from the Cowboys and Nassib being on Tampa Bay, but number 7, I think that's too high. It's a proving year for him as well. He's on a 1-year deal.
I
Number
mean,
6.
prove it deal. If he's the 6th or he's the 7th best player on our team, that's news to me. I mean, I thought he was going to be a very good contributor to our defensive line, but man, I mean, somebody thinks he's that good. I'm pretty stoked about it.
Yeah, if he could prove that he's that damn good, then I'll be just as happy because we got him for dirt cheap as well. So that would be fine with me. But I'm kind of baffled about Max Crosby not being in this top 5. Max Crosby is number 6 on this list. Now I'm kind of like, why this man's not in top 5? He proven himself in his rookie year. He was 109th pick, I think, out of the draft with us, and nobody gave him a shot but us. And he came out and proved that he was one of the best defensive linemen on his team. And he was in a run for Defensive Player of the Year against a guy that was ranked that was number 2 overall with Nick Bosa. So I don't understand. I just don't get it. I don't know who's doing these rankings, y'all. This is according to what I found online. I just don't know. Please let us know
I
in the
think it's
comments.
crazy. I think it's crazier. Sorry to interrupt, Darian. I think it's crazier to that that Collins is so high than Crosby is in the top 5. I still think, I mean, I really hope, knock on wood, Max Crosby has a similar season next year or even better season. That would really be great for the Raiders. I see him tapering out a bit. I don't see him even getting the 10 sacks next year, but I think he's a consistent performer, and I do see him as a contributing part of a defense that's supposed to be much better. But Don't forget, he did have 4 sacks in that one game. So you take those away, and his sack total doesn't look as impressive, but he is definitely by far one of the top 10 best, top 10, top 15 best players on this team, no doubt. Top 5, I'm not sure yet, but I think number 6 is a pretty respectable place for him, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's pretty respectable knowing that the what he did on the field. Like when we first drafted Max Crosby, I didn't know what we were getting out of him. I haven't this is my first year actually doing mock drafts and looking up players and stuff like that. I didn't see Max Crosby on our radar at all. And I was like, who the heck is Max Crosby? And I had to look him up, and I was like, oh, this guy is a beast. But I didn't know he was going to have the year that he has. So that's why I probably thought number 5 would have been a better slot. But I wouldn't. I mean, I can't mind. I can't be mad at number 6. I just felt as though knowing that his production and what he did for our defense to get to the quarterback, I thought he could have been number 5. But speaking of number 5, we have Trent Brown up at number 5, and he was hurt like the second half of the year most of the time. But I think when he's fully healthy, he's definitely a beast for our offensive line. Number 5, I think I would like to swap spaces here, put Trent at number 6 and put Max Crosby at number 5. That's just my personal opinion. But how you feel about that?
If you're looking at last year's performance only, I mean that's fine. But I do think Trent Brown is a great talent at tackle, at right tackle. And I think he's one of the better right tackles in the league. If he can stay healthy, if the offensive line stays healthy, I mean, that's probably the strongest position group on the team, right? So I think that's probably, I think that's a pretty good spot for him.
Yeah, yeah. I just think that it just should be swapped. I wouldn't mind, Trent Brown being at number 6 and Matt Scott being number 5. But even though that they're right behind each other back to back, that's still fine with me. At the end of the day, so number 4 on the top 25 players of 2020. Number 4 is Darren Waller. I'm not mad at this spot. I just think that he needs to get in the end zone a little bit more. In the red zone, give him an opportunity to go up against some of them smaller corners or them smaller safeties. Because he did have a heck of a year. He had a breakout year. He definitely. I was not expecting those type of numbers from Waller, and for him to perform the way he performed. I think he would have been higher if he would have had more touchdowns in the end zone. Understand that John Gruden is a run-first coach at the end of the day, so you want to go with Josh Jacobs down there. But I'm not mad at this spot. So how you feel about Waller being at number 4?
He had a fantastic year last year. I think that he's one of the premier tight ends in the conference, and like you said, maybe he gets in the end zone a couple more times, and more people are saying talking about him and saying his name as one of your best tight ends in the league. I think when it's hard when you have your Kelseys and stuff like that, that's such dynamic players at that position. He's still overshadowed a bit, but I mean, he definitely had a dynamic year last year. If Derek Carr can get him the ball in the red zone, and we can get some more talent on the outside, I could see him having an equally successful year next year.
Yeah, I can see him doing what he did this past year and doing next year. I just want to see him more. I just want to see the advantage in the end zone, knowing that he's so tall, he can jump, and he could go up against some of the best corners, knowing that some of those best corners is not as big or as physical as him. So I feel like those fade routes at the end zone, if you want to give Jacobs a break while he was during that drive, I know Renfro is down there. He's a good liability down there. You could definitely count on him. And then if Tyrell Williams is down there, just get him in 1-on-1 with Waller, and that could be more touchdowns for him. So where we at? Number 3, Josh Jacobs. I'm not mad at this spot either. Josh Jacobs is a rookie that a lot of people didn't have real expectations for going, and not Raider Nation. We had the expectations for him. I did personally, but a lot of people didn't have, outside of Raider Nation, didn't expect to have Josh Jacobs play that way. I kind of did, because I watched him and watched film of him at Alabama when he did get the chance, when he was splitting the reps with the guy Harris at Alabama. I knew what type of talent that he was. So when we got him at the number 24 pick, that was a steal. It was a steal, and I don't know how people, all 23 other teams, other picks that times end up not trying to get him. So I'm not mad at number 3 here. I'm definitely not mad here at number 3.
He's one of the best handful of players on the team for sure. And if it wasn't for Rodney Hudson, he would definitely be up there for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then Corey Littleton at number 2. I know you had your feelings about that. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's wrong. I think that people are really excited about the signing, as am I. I think that getting a linebacker of his caliber is going to change our defense. And if he is again, he's one of those players. If he's playing like the second best player on the team, that's a really good sign for him. If everybody else continues to keep their play, at a high level, then that's going to be great.
right, and we all know who the number 1 player of the top 25 players of 2020 is center Rodney Hudson. Now, I can't be mad at this, and I really respect Rodney Hudson, and I really respect because the fact that he's one of the best centers in the league. Honestly, the best center in the he's one of the best centers in the league, and I think he doesn't get his due diligence from the NFL. I think the NFL really doesn't respect him because he's a Raider. I think the NFL don't really respect us as as a team, honestly, because they always give us a brutal schedule every year. But Rodney Hudson, I really respect him knowing that he did renegotiate his contract. He restructured his contract to help get more cap space for the Raiders as well, so we can sign most of those, rookies that we will get, or we can finally get at least one more piece in free agency. So I do respect the fact that he did go out and do that. But just from, if he didn't get hurt like last year, I still put him at number 1. I just think that he's a leader for that offensive line. That he just gives them motivation to push harder. So I do like this as a number 1 player on our team for the year 2020.
Yeah, you said it. Leader is definitely the name for the word for him. Going ahead and knowing that, hey, if I rework my contract, we're going to have a couple more dollars to get things under the cap and get more talent on the team. He wants to win. He's got some years of being a top echelon center left, but not a lot, right? So I think that he really wants to go for it these next couple of years, and I think that he can see if they can get some more talent that they're going to, they have a chance to do it. But yeah, I totally think he's the best player on the team, and in line with a lot of those Raider great centers that they've had.
Absolutely, absolutely. So there is your top 25 players of going into the 2020 season. Now, I want to get into another topic that I found searching online, trying to find as much Raiders news that I can find. But I came across this article where Nick Kowalski reveals why he chose the Las Vegas Raiders. But Nick Kowalski, according to the article, he said he didn't waste any time announcing that he was joining the Raiders on the first day of free agency. Um, they said that he was one of the top targets of the former Chicago Bears linebacker was one of the top targets for the Raiders in his offseason. Both parties were eager to announce the move. I'm trying to get into where he actually. Okay, so this is according to NBC Sports Bay Area that he said that he felt like he earned the starting spot is something that he looked for in free agency when he and then when it was very appealing. They called early and spoke very clear that there was excitement around the whole organization moving to Las Vegas. That was one of the numbers of reasons why he made the decision to play for the Raiders. He said when we played them in London last year, he just loved the mentality that they brought to the game, and they came right at you. And then he says that their defensive scheme, he thought he fit right in, and he gave some time to look at other calls, but ended up thinking that the Raiders was the best fit for him. And that was the article that he put up according to NBC Sports Bay Area. So how you feel about what he said about, what the reason why he came to the Raiders?
I think it makes a lot of sense. He's going to be a guy. I'm sure. He didn't say this, but I'm sure he also saw how open the linebacking position was here, and how easy it was going to be to get a starting spot. That's what he wanted in Chicago. I think he thought that he was a starting quality linebacker, and he's going to get a chance to play a lot of downs here at the Raiders. There's not a lot of talent outside of Littleton. Here on the squad already, and they've gotten rid of, you saw they got rid of Whitehead. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity for him to make a name for himself at the starting linebacker position here. I think that more than anything gets a player excited. And who doesn't want to start for a legendary franchise moving into their new digs in Las Vegas? There's a lot of excitement around the whole season, and I think it all kind of comes together there.
I just think that
I don't know how much I like this Broncos logo though on this live comments guy. CA
oh
Sports, what are
yeah,
you doing?
CA yeah. CA Sports is not really a friend of mine. He's a sports colleague that, he wants to debate Raider stuff with me, knowing that the Donkeys is just not better than us. The Donkeys would never be better than us. But so he subscribed to me. I'm subscribed to him. At least he don't bash the Raiders like we bash the Donkeys. But I still bash the
Fair
Donkeys
enough.
regardless, and that's just what it is.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But
but
yeah, I think that Nick's going to be he's going to fit in really well here.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think that with this continuity of if once the off season starts, like the OTAs and stuff, and any linebackers can be around each other and communicate with each other, I think with Littleton and Kowalski and whatever linebacker that we get in the draft, I think it's just going to be unity there. They're going to go to bat for each other, and I'm very excited, and I was very excited about this signing, knowing that he was very underrated in free agency, and um, I watched him play. I watched him play with the Chicago Bears, and I am going to be doing some film breakdown stuff on that. Going looking at him when he did play with the Bears, and do some breakdown film. If you don't have NFL League Pass right now, please go on there for free. It's absolutely free to get the film. They do have coaches film on there where you can break it down from different angles. So if you want to go to NFL League Pass, please do that as well. Um, so I'm kind of happy for Nick Kowalski coming to the Raiders, and it was just definitely a need that we needed on top of getting Littleton as well.
Yeah, hopefully he can perform.
All right, so Nick Kowalski, thank you for coming to the nation, brother. I really do appreciate it. Um, Now let's go into a position need that we always need to talk about, and that's the cornerback position. The cornerback position is always a need for the Raiders every single year, ladies and gentlemen. So this topic is definitely going to be the top. It's going to be 10 free agent options at cornerback for the Raiders. Um, so I do have the list here, according to justblogbaby.com. Um, and we're going to definitely look into this list. What's going on, Joe Salazar? Thank you for joining in. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in into the show. We try to have as many topics for y'all once a week here. So let's get straight into it. Las Vegas Raiders 10 free agent options at cornerback. This is an interesting one. This number 10 is interesting, and it's Aqib Talib from the Rams. I'm just going to see what Just Law Baby had to say about this. They said, would the Raiders really bring in a longtime nemesis in chain snatcher Aqib Talib if team certainly should, but clashes are not the only concern when it comes to a veteran corner. Throughout his career, Talib has been one of the better corners in the NFL, earning 5 trips to the Pro Bowl and a first team All American All Pro selection in 2016. But those days are long gone, which I agree. Since joining the Rams in 2018, Talib only played 13 games, recorded just one interception. Now, most of Talib can hope that on his market can likely be a veteran minimum due to his age at the age of 34. Injuries does concern that it concerns me as well, but If Talib wants to join the Las Vegas Raiders, it will bring a full career circle that he played his rookie season under John Gruden in 2008. How, that keeps Talib come in.
No, no, I don't want anything to do with keep Talib. I hate him as a person and a football player. I think he's terrible, and he can go ahead and go elsewhere. I want nothing to do with the keep Talib. I don't think that he has. I don't think he has it anymore. And all of his previous antics with the Raiders. Go ahead. You can go ahead
Yeah,
and find another team, man.
right. I think Akeem Talib is past his prime. I think he's just trying to find a team right now, and he's so injury prone. It's just we can't afford to have any more injury prone corners. We just can't. So we need something that's going to at least try to stay healthy as much as they can.
Well,
Number
there's a couple injury prone cornerbacks that they mention on this list, and I mean you got to think too when you're talking about this list here, when all these names, the majority of them are going to be, very low price, low risk depth signings, which the Raiders are probably going to go after. I don't see them doing it, going after anybody really big on this list. A couple, some of the top, people like Logan Ryan, I think was number one or something like that. A lot of these guys though, they have injury problems. They are past their prime, so these that's why they're still available right now. And you know, I if you got to go into this knowing that you're not going to pick up a super talented cornerback, yeah, just so everybody knows, these 10 quarterbacks, you're going to find something wrong with all of them.
So I do see they have Daryl Worley on this list as well. Um, they have him at the number 6 on here. I'm not really a big fan of Worley. I don't know what it is about him. I just can't see us re-signing him. I understand that
I
he.
mean, all these guys are Daryl Worley types, right? They're all journeymen. They're all, probably going to fight for your third starting cornerback position and just add depth. And, I think the Raiders need another starting quality cornerback on their team. That's why I think they're going to try to go for one in the draft in the first round. But if not, maybe they do splurge for a Logan Ryan. But he's, anybody that's going to be a starting quality cornerback in free agency right now. Ryan's probably the best one left, but he's going to want more than $10 million a year. And with the amount of money we have left, do we want to go ahead and spend that? I don't know. So we're probably going to be left with a Darryl Worley type cornerback out of this list.
Yeah, I have to agree as well. I think if we're going to go with a corner that actually have proven himself, and that's Logan Ryan. I'm not really don't care for a lot of these players that's on this list as free agents, but I really think knowing that we do have 3 picks in the third round, I think 2 of those is going to be corner slash safety. That's just my personal opinion. I think you should just go young, and give them that experience. Just my personal opinion. I mean, I would love to have a corner come in and be a veteran to help out that back end. Um, Knowing that he's going to be third or fourth on the depth chart, is not willing to come in and be a number one corner. That's fine. No, 3 picks in the third round, Messi. If you heard me, I said 3 picks in the third round. We have 2 in the first. We have no picks in the second. We have 3 in the third. We have 3 picks in the third. So, with that being said, um, even with Tremaine Johnson, like Tremaine Johnson from the Jets, I just think he's just done. He's kind of washed up, in my opinion. So I think Logan Ryan would be the best fit for us to help as a veteran. But knowing the year that he came off last year, he's going to want the money. I don't know if the Raiders would go out and pay that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that out of all these cornerbacks, if you say who do you want, that's who I would want. Prince, Ama Kamara, he's another guy where it's like, is he a starting quality cornerback? I don't know. He could be a depth number 3 guy on your team. I wouldn't see that as a bad signing. He's also on the list. I think you're muted, Darian.
Oh, I'm sorry, but Brashard Breeland, I'm not really big on this guy, and I don't know why he's on this list. Understanding that Brashard Breeland definitely revived his career because he was hot garbage in Washington. He couldn't cover a soul. That's just my personal opinion. But he approved under the Steve Spagnuolo defense with the Kansas City Chiefs to end up winning the Super Bowl. Do I think he fits the Raiders system? No, I don't think he does. I think he needs to stay in KC and and keep his career going the way it's going. But I'm not really a big fan of Brashard Breeland of the Raiders trying to bring him in. I mean, if you want to bring him in that depth, but knowing that they think because he's a Super Bowl champion, he think he's supposed to be a number one corner. No, I think you bring him in that depth. But other than that, I wouldn't bring him in either. You gotta unmute your mic. You gotta unmute your mic, Eli.
Messi, I think that the as far as next year, we have all of our picks except for the number 5 pick. I think we traded that for Jay Jones this past year, so we don't have any. We don't have any multiple firsts anymore. This is our last chance. But I do think, like we've talked about a couple times, I think they're either going to get a second by trading that 19 and trading back, or trading into the second using a couple of those thirds, and trying to get those to leverage up. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see us picking in the second round this year.
Now, if we do trade to be in the second round, do you know what we would get for that? Knowing that we giving up one of our third rounds to be in the second round, like, do you know like we'll just swap picks or we'll swap players? What would you think? What we would do to get in the second round?
I don't know. I don't know exactly what the equation is for them, but I'm sure it would be like 2/3 and a whatever sixth, or I don't know what a second round pick equates to as far as that's concerned. Or again, if it's trading back, what we end up getting for a 19 pick. But I think it's going to be again, like I said last week. If they can't get the guy they want at 19, they think they can get somebody they want in the second round or later. In the first round, they're going to drop back and see if they can get that guy and pick up a second round pick for it. If they see somebody they like that they think is going to get picked in the second round, they're going to use that capital for the third and get in there, I think. But cornerback is certainly one of those players that if not going to get in the first round, we're going to pick a cornerback in the third round.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So, we get through mainly of the picks. I mean, mainly of the topics so far. We actually running through them. It's another topic that we definitely wanted to talk about. The biggest needs. We're actually resetting the needs of what we need is what we need going into this season. Not free agency, but I think after free agency and what we did in free agency, now we're going into the draft. So it's definitely resetting of what the needs that we actually need, ranking them going into the draft. Of course, number one is going to be the need is wide receiver. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, due to the fact that we just don't have a number one outside of Tyrell Williams. We don't have it. Knowing that we brought in Nelson Aguilar, I think we're going to use Nelson Aguilar for kick and punt returns just because of the speed that he has. So I think Nelson Aguilar on the depth chart probably be number 4, number 5 on the depth chart.
He'll be a fourth wide receiver on this team for sure. If we pick up another wide receiver in the draft, who should be our starter,
which should be our number 12 pick. That's just my uh definitely my opinion. Zay Jones can step it up. That's interesting too. I totally forgot about Zay Jones, and then we got Doss over there. So it's gonna be a lot of run. It's gonna be a lot of wide receivers going into training camp trying to be on that 53-man roster.
Well, we need talent there. I mean, we have wide receiver bodies, but none of them are pro wide receivers. So I think that's still the number one need after, now that we've addressed linebacker, I do think that's the number one need right now on the team.
Right. And Randy Sanders says grab two of these guys in the first round and win Judy, Lamb, Henderson, or Murray. Definitely we're gonna go into those. Hopefully, um, I kind of like that though. Judy, Lamb, Henderson, or Murray. That's not too bad as far as needs as well. So the number two need that we need, we all know we've been talking about it this all damn near this whole this show. Cornerback, cornerback is one of our biggest needs. And if C.J. Henderson is there, and there's no linebackers that we like that's available to us at 19. I would not mind getting C.J. Henderson at 19 or getting a Trayvon Diggs or one of those Alabama corners. It doesn't really matter, or one of those LSU corners at that number 19 spot. But corner is definitely a need in this draft, and I think my prediction for the draft is that we're going to pick up three DBs, at least three. I probably say two in the third, and I think we have we got a fourth round pick, right? I think we have a fourth round pick. Unmute your mic.
Well, I think that we are actually going to get our cornerback. I think Henderson's not a bad call. I think we're going to get our cornerback in the first round, unless we get somebody in a surprising position at number 12, and then use 19 to get a wide receiver. I'm going to go ahead and say that we're going to get that cornerback in the first round. Again, I've said it many times. I don't think we're going to, especially now that we got Littleton and Kwatoski. I don't think we're going to be picking a linebacker in round one anymore. We might get one later in the rounds for a camp body and to see if we can get some athletes back there. But yeah, I think that's our second. Our number two biggest need after free agency is still cornerback, and three cornerbacks in the draft, three defensive backs. Get a safety in there too. I can see that happening.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening as well. Even though that I think we should go. No, even though it's gonna be flip flop. You say go corner at 12 and we go wide receiver at 19. I say go wide receiver at 19, go corner, go wide receiver at 12 and go corner at 19. So it's just like it's just flip flopping at the end of the day. And speaking of running backs, because you did mention that running backs you're looking for in the draft. We talked about this a few times on our show. Knowing that Eli's loving DeAndre Swift. He's loving that pick there to go get him in the draft. But they knowing that we have Josh Jacobs, we do have Jalen Richard. We don't know the uncertainty of DeAndre Washington. I don't know if he's staying there. And we picked up fullback slash running back Ross Smith in free agency from the Dallas Cowboys. But I wouldn't mind going to get another running back in one of our picks here to fill the last need of what we need, because even though, like, just in case if Josh Jacobs go down and Jalen Richard is more of the pass catching running back than he is between the tackles. That's why I think we need another running back as far as a pounding ground when it comes to that, because we already have running backs that can catch the ball out the backfield. I wouldn't mind it either.
Yeah, and when I said that too about Swift, I still wouldn't be blown away if they go ahead and pick him. It doesn't seem likely, but that was my hot take a month or so ago. But look at what happened when Josh Jacobs went down. These guys. Look at like a guy like Gurley when he goes down. You need a stable of running backs that can continue to make your offense dangerous. And unfortunately, say what you want about Richard and Washington and how they were fine. They're definitely not game-breaking running backs like Josh Jacobs is. And if you go ahead and put another running back there, that if you're spelling Josh Jacobs for a down, or if he gets injured and need to put feature another back for a couple of games, you don't lose anything with another running back. They're going to pick up another running back in the draft, and they're going to go ahead and probably try to pick up somebody in free agency. I don't think Isaiah Crowell is going to come back and really be a difference maker. So, I mean, we'll see. But running back is definitely the number three need, I think, as well.
All right, so the number fourth need that we need it is, and they say linebacker, which probably be in the later rounds now, knowing that which I don't like to go with a linebacker in the later rounds, but knowing that what we did in free agency, I wouldn't mind going linebacker in the later rounds. But speaking of linebackers, they said, would you think about trading up to get Isaiah Simmons? Um, Possibly. It's I mean, you can't pass up on a talent like Isaiah Simmons, knowing that he's the best linebacker coming out of this draft, just with his speed and his ability to cover. To have him with Corey Littleton and Nick Kowalski, I do not have a problem with trading up to go get him, depending at where we're trading up at to get him, what we have to give up to give him to get that spot.
I mean, you'd have to give up obviously both first round picks to do it. And here's the question about that, Isaiah. Listen, Isaiah Simmons is we've talked about Isaiah Simmons on this podcast. He's a difference maker and one of the most talented and intriguing, prospects in this draft. But the thing is, this team still needs good players. I mean, we look at the top 25 most talented players or the best players list. It's not that impressive, especially at the top end with talent. We need top end talent on this team, and we're going to have to utilize as many first round picks as you can. I don't like trading and combining our first round picks to go ahead and move up for somebody. I'd rather take two first round picks and get two good players, especially with Mayock being so talented as a talent evaluator. This team still needs to just get more good players on the team, on the roster. And you don't do that when you're making two picks into one. As much as Isaiah Simmons is just seems like a generational talent. I'd rather take the two first round picks.
Yeah, I have to. In the same instance, I have to agree as well. I don't really see us moving up. I mean, I see us moving up to go get Isaiah Simmons. It just depends on where that spot is being picked at, because I don't want to give up both of our first round picks.
You'd have to.
Yeah, or
Three
give up
four
give up the number 19 pick and one of our third round picks to move up to get Isaiah. I'm not buying that. I'm
No,
just not buying
you're
that
going to
as
have to
well.
jump into the top three, top four to get him. And then don't forget, then you're also vying against all those teams that are going to try to pop up and get a quarterback. So yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility. He's one of those kind of players that, really would be a game breaker. But you got to think too, you just spent a lot of money on Littleton, who's supposed to be that sideline to sideline coverage linebacker. You cannot have too many athletic players at linebacker. But it's, don't forget, it's a position that is, now you're using two linebackers instead of three every down. So yeah, he's a great player. I'd love to have him. I don't see them getting rid of two picks. I think they're going to take both picks.
Yeah, I have to agree. I have to agree there. We did have someone say, knowing that we are talking about like needs, after free agency, we have Andy that says Raiders who gets the best, who's the best available at the number 12 pick. That's his question.
I think it's probably going to be one of those wide receivers, Judy or Lamb. But that's it, in case somebody drops down there, I don't see any of the dynamic position players that the Raiders are looking for, the Simmons or Okuda or anybody like that that's going to drop down. Unfortunately, I see some of the offensive tackles dropping down maybe into the 12th pick, but I think that your best bet is probably, unless you're going to pick somebody like that dropped in, like Brown from Auburn drops down, and the Raiders just are just enamored by him and want to pick him. I don't see them doing that. I see them picking a wide receiver probably with that 12th pick.
And Joey Letterman, what's going on, man? Raider Nation to you, brother. Raider Nation to everybody that's in the chat asking us these questions, man. What would you rather draft, Ruggs, Lamb, or Judy at number 12? Me personally, I would rather draft Lamb at number 12, just because I love his yards after the catch. His yak is just insane. Just watching him in college, but I mean, Ruggs, he don't drop balls a lot either. It's just something about Alabama wide receivers that the Raiders just have issues with, i.e., Amari Cooper. So knowing that, great route runners, I just hope, with Ruggs, if any of these players are available there, I wouldn't be mind if we got any of these three players here at the number 12 pick. But me personally, I think CD Lamb would be the best landing spot for us. I just love when he catches the ball. He can make people miss. He can run. He's not. People say, "Oh, speed this and speed that," but when you're running routes, speed don't kill everything. So when you can run a crisp route, or if you can outplay your corner that's in front of you, I think speed doesn't matter, and it showed with a lot of receivers in the league that speed doesn't matter. As long as you can run those great routes, that's all that really matters to me. But I do love CD Lamb at number 12.
I think that's a really good point as far as the running the routes, and I think that's why I think Judy would be the guy that I would maybe pick. CeeDee Lamb definitely brings the explosion and the yards after the catch, but John Gruden's offense, as you know, it's very developed, and it's very intensive with the amount of information you need to know, and you need to know your route. You need to know the route that your teammate is running. You need to be able to run every single route, and you need to be able to do it flawlessly. And I think that's why a guy like Judy is somebody that John Gruden's going to want for his timing based offense, where Derek Carr can get the ball out of his hands quickly. The ball's going to be there. The wide receiver is going to be open, and Judy's no slouch when he gets the ball in his hand. I mean, CeeDee Lamb is known as the game breaker with Yak, and Ruggs is known as being so fast. But Judy's he can also make some plays himself. So I think that he would be, out of those three, the guy that I would pick at number 12.
Junior Melgoza says we should trade down with the 19th pick and get more picks. RN for L. I wouldn't mind trading that 19th pick to get more picks, knowing that we will get more picks in the second round, knowing that that's where it depends on what we're getting to give up that 19th pick. If they're not giving us anything that's valuable to move that 19 pick, then I wouldn't take it. I feel like if you do go number 19, give me a high second round pick. I need a high second round pick for that number 19 pick. It has to be at least the first couple of picks in the second round, like the fifth pick in the second round, for that number 19 pick. If you want to trade down back into the second round. And Junior Mel Golden says, perfect example of Hunter Renfro, great route runner and not a speedy guy.
Right, exactly, and look at how well he and Derek Carr kind of got along. I think that Carr likes a guy that's going to be able to. We all know what Carr's issue is. Carr doesn't like to hold on to the ball a lot. He wants you open, and he wants your route run correctly. And a guy like Judy's going to be that kind of guy. But as far as trading down, I've seen that Mayock and Gruden seem to be locked on to a certain type of player. I think if their type of player and their guy is available at 19, they will grab him at 19. If he's not, I think that they do drop back and get some more draft capital later in the draft, whether that's dropping to 22 and getting an extra third or whatever. I don't know exactly what that would be. But yeah, Junior, I could see them doing that for sure.
All right. So Joey says, would you pick Jalen Hurts at number 80 and Willie Gay at number 81 if they fall that far?
I'm not a huge Jalen Hurts fan. I really am not. I don't think that he's the Raiders' quarterback of the future. And if that's not the case, then why draft him there? Again, I think we both said it. They're going to pick a quarterback somewhere, but I don't know if Jalen's the guy.
I have to agree. I think Jalen Hurts does not fit our system whatsoever. He needs to go to a system where it's not. I'm because I know Jalen Hurts is not a run first quarterback, but I think we all know what his talent is when he's on the move. He's gonna, if he doesn't see nobody open on the run, he's going to tuck and run. We just know that, and I just feel like Jalen Hurts does not fit our system. But I do see us picking up a quarterback in this draft as well. I will agree with that. As far as Willie Gay is pretty underrated in this draft. Number 81. it's a possibility that he could get him, but depending on how the draft works and who falls where, if he's there at 81, I'll say we'll go get him as well. Um,
He's
oh,
the
go
type
ahead.
of guy. I think he's the type of linebacker that they would pick up. Somebody that's pretty athletic in the mid rounds of no, round number three. I think that that's what you're going to see them do. Now, I don't know if Gay is the guy that that they're going to really be going after, but he's the type of linebacker in that range. I think that's what you're going to see.
Okay, so Randy Sanders said I could see a trade up in the second for the Clemson kid, like it's cornerback AJ Terrell or Higgins, for example. Grab Judy Murray and trade up early in the second for a cornerback AJ or like Henderson. Murray up for Higgins. That's pretty interesting analogy there. If you want to trade up for a Clemson kid like a AJ Terrell or Higgins, so that means that'll be so if you do trade, that'll be a wide receiver at the number 12 pick in the first round, and then it will be another wide receiver in the second round. So that'd be two top quality wide receivers within the second round, within the first and second round. If you get Judy or Lamb at that number 12 pick, and then you trade down to the second to get Higgins, I'm not. It only depends on if Higgins is there. If Higgins is there in the second round, I don't see the Raiders passing up him, because
It
I
depends on
said,
where they get him, though. I mean, honestly,
right.
if he gets into the second round, he's going in the number one or two pick, and everyone's going to want to be trading up to get him there. But I don't see him lasting very long in the second round. But I mean, again, I do think that we're gonna. I think we're gonna pick, two wide receivers maybe in those rounds. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at all. No.
Yeah, yeah, I could definitely agree with that. Jason says, watch them draft a office alignment at 12 and blows everyone's mock draft.
Yeah.
I don't see us getting an offensive lineman um in the first round at the number 12 pick. I know that most of these positions in the draft are actually deep. Wide receiver is deep coming out of the draft. You got the lineman, D
Offensive
lineman
tackle is pretty deep in this draft, but
is
if they weren't already set, I think for the next few years on their offensive tackles, I think no doubt that Gruden would probably go after one at number 10 or try to trade up to get one of really impact offensive tackles. But I don't see that happening this year. But I'm sure that was also a little bit sarcastic.
right, right, right. So just to let y'all know, if y'all are in the chat and you do want to call in and ask us any questions, please let us know. The phone lines are open, ladies and gentlemen. To ask us anything, Raider Nation. It could be old, it could be past, it could be future, it could be anything that you want to talk about. Just call us. That number is right on the screen there. But yeah, I don't see the Raiders drafting a quarterback. That's a waste of a pick. Carr and Mariota are both in their 20s, and drafting a QB now makes no sense. We got to understand, though, at the same time, George, I kind of like agree with you there, but sometimes I do disagree, knowing that Derek Carr has been here for about to be in his seventh year, knowing that he already came in young. Um, Carr has to get the job done. He has to get the job done. There's no way he's going to be here for 8 to 10 years. It does not get the job done. So me
But
personally,
and also to jump on that too, I think that it's going to be a mid round pick that it's going to be a project that they're going to bring into camp and see what they have with them. I don't think they're drafting the Derek Carr's replacement this year, but they will bring in a quarterback because they have room on their depth chart for one.
right? They have room on the depth chart, and I think knowing that I don't think John Gruden is going to keep two quarterbacks just on the depth chart once the season starts. He's going to have at least three quarterbacks on the depth chart. So Nathan Peterman, which I don't know why he's still a Raider to this day. I don't understand it. And then whoever's that other whatever quarterbacks they have on the depth chart now, it's just gonna be a quarterback competition for that number 3 spot because we all know Mariota's the number 2. We all Derek Carr knows the number 1. So at the end of the day, that's just what is given with Carr. If they do get a quarterback, it's going to be in a later round. I don't see him picking up a quarterback in the third. I can see him picking up a quarterback in the fourth or in the seventh or something like that. But it's going to be in the later round, so it's going to be a low risk of a pick. just to have some young talent on the depth chart. Joey Litterman says, "Why don't the Raiders have a draft hat?" Sorry for all the questions. It's just really curious. I don't know why the Raiders don't have a draft hat. I don't understand that they should have a draft hat. Every other 31 teams going to have a draft hat, but I wouldn't be surprised the Raiders if they don't. That's that telling you something about the league. But me per se, I will say, I really don't. I mean, they're going to have a draft hat. That's just my personal opinion. Monster Ball says, we will draft more than one wide receiver or in cornerback. What do you think of Antonio Gandy Golden?
I think
Um,
he's one of those like big athletic guys, right?
yeah, I really don't know too much about him.
Liberty.
Huh?
I think he's from Liberty.
He played at Liberty.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's like one of those like super uber big, huge athletic guys. I don't know if he's the kind of guy that John Gruden is going to be after to run in his offense, but he seems like an athletic freak type dude.
Right, right. And Marcus 85, he says Jake Fromm or Easton. Easton. I know about Jake Fromm. I don't see us getting Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm is going to go somewhere where he's going to have to sit behind people, which is not us. Um, I don't see him being a starter in this league right now. I don't really know the Easton kid. I got to do a lot of looking up on that Easton kid. I really didn't hear much about him, but Randy does say I can see Easton. You know, Gruden loves quarterbacks because they are a great trade beat. Interesting, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like Eason that much coming out of he was in the Pac-12 somewhere, right? Not Oregon. Was it Washington State or something like that? I
Yeah,
forget.
I think it was Washington State.
Somewhere like that. But I always kind of liked From, but I think that he's going to be that kind of guy, and it's going to be like the later mid rounds that they're going to pick somebody like that to bring in and just have on their roster and see kind of how they develop. And if they develop into potentially a backup and then the starting quarterback, great. But they're not looking for their replacement starting quarterback in this draft.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the last one that we had on our the draft needs that I mean the biggest needs after free agency, the final one was safety, and I couldn't be too mad about that either because
Yeah, I always kind of like lump them in together, defensive back.
yeah, defensive back things just because of some safeties can't play corner, some corners can play safety. It really depends on the system. It really depends on the scheme. It really depends on how much of a playmaker that you could be as well. But definitely safety is a need. I can see the Raiders going out and getting a safety. I think this is going to be more a defensive and wide receiver type of draft for the Raiders, but it's gonna be more of D backs than anything else. I do think we might. I got a feeling that we might address the defensive line again in here, or probably get one as an undrafted free agent come into training camp and try to work his tail off to come in.
Yeah.
But
And let's not forget, that's probably where you're going to be getting a lot of linebackers. That's probably where we're going to be getting a lot of edge rushers. Is from your rookie free agents that they bring in after the draft. So if you don't see a lot of those guys kind of being taken, expect them to be kind of brought in some athletic guys that can rush the quarterback potentially and can run around in the back end of the defense.
all right, so Corey Letterman says I can see the Raiders drafting Ruggs because Al Davis said you can't teach size or speed in the NFL. I
I
mean,
don't
in this,
disagree. I like Ruggs. I think that he is an explosive playmaker, but I don't think that he is the guy that Gruden and Mayock like. If you guys saw Mike Mayock's podium speech a few weeks ago, he definitely talked at length about wide receivers coming out of college, and specifically said that their speed isn't really how fast they are, especially their first year, because they're thinking so much, and your action doesn't really translate into your full top speed. Now, this guy's going to be a game breaker. I'm sure he could very much be like a Tyreek Hill, but I see that Judy becoming more of your number one potential All Pro wide receiver like a DeAndre Hopkins type guy. And the Raiders need that. The Raiders, Derek Carr needs a number one wide receiver. When they had one, it was very hit or miss, right? And you could tell when they were clicking, Derek Carr was a different quarterback. So, I think that they go after a guy like Judy who could be a real number one target more so than a game breaker. I think that if they get Ruggs, it's going to be they're going to get both of them, which would be pretty bonkers. And I wouldn't be mad at that at all either.
Brandy says Abram and Randall is going to be nasty in the backfield this year. I just really hope Abram change his. I don't want him to change his playing style, but be more cautious with his playing style. Just because, just imagine if we would have had Abram the whole year. He went all out in that first game, and we seen the future. It's just that I just want him to take care of his body to a point where every hit don't have to be the biggest hit. And that's what I think that was the problem with, every hit had to be a vicious hit. And it kind of cost him, with the injury. But at the same time, I really hope that he comes back 100% and don't try to rush it, knowing that you was gone since the week one. So hopefully he comes back healthy and get ready for the 2020 season, man. 2020 season is like right around the corner. But please call into the show 267-776-4735 if you have any questions for us. We are willing to, answer any questions that have you on the lines, have you on the show as well. Now, I know this is not really Raiders related, but I don't know if you heard about the NFL draft is going to be absolutely virtual, knowing that they're not going to be in the actual team facilities, the offices, and they have to draft from home. This is according to NFL.com, ESPN, et cetera, that broke this news earlier today. How you feel about the whole thing being virtual for the draft, which this darn coronavirus killed us, because Las Vegas would have been lit. Las Vegas would have been lit if this didn't happen.
Yeah, it's really a shame. I think it would have been a really special time down there. It's going to have to work, right? We have the technology to be able to do this. Everybody's kind of seeing it in their day to day and utilizing technology to speak with people. I'm interested how it's going to kind of be viewed and how they're going to showcase. Are they going to showcase the, people giving the picks kind of like how you and I are talking and screen now? Or are they just going to kind of have all the, the pundits and stuff kind of talking on a screen separately? I'm interested to see kind of how the layout's going to be more than anything. The draft is the draft. It's really, hey, it's your turn to pick. Tell me who you want to pick. And then the pomp and circumstance is kind of the, extra. So they're going to be able to do the draft the same way. But it's going to look different on TV. So I'm interested to see kind of how that goes.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to what it's going to look like on television. I will be doing the draft. I probably won't do all 7 rounds. I probably would do just the first, depending on if we have a second. And I would still do the second and third round. I really want to see who we pick in those 3 picks we get in the third round. So that's really interesting. So I will be doing the draft here. Me and you probably could do the draft this way. So, depending on how things go. But
I have a feeling we're both gonna be home, man. So yeah, it sounds like a party.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see if we have any more questions in the chat. Because I know on my phone the chat is coming up a little bit quicker than what it is on the actual StreamYard. Joey Letterman says, "What do you think about the Raiders trading up to number 1 by giving 2 first rounders from this year and a first rounder from next year, and Derek Carr for AJ Green and a first pick to take Burrow?"
No, I don't really see that being. No, Joe Burrow was a great college quarterback. I think that he's going to be a fine quarterback for whoever drafts them, but that doesn't interest me. Kind of harkening back to what I was talking about earlier, the Raiders need good players on their team. I think that Derek Carr is not the worst quarterback in the world. If they can get some talent around them, they're going to be a good team. They got to keep their first round picks. If I really thought that, Derek Carr was just an absolute travesty and they really need a quarterback this year, sure, maybe you do something like that. Last year was the year that they should have done that. If they were unhappy with Derek Carr, getting Murray was kind of that was their chance to do that. I don't see them doing anything close to that this year.
Yeah, I'll have to agree to. I just don't think that's giving up a bit too much for a quarterback that's not even going to start. That's just
Yeah.
he's not going to start with us, and I'm just going to be 100% honest. He's not going to start with us, and he's just going to be sitting there holding a playbook or a cart or a chart, sitting on the sidelines. I think Joe Burrow is needed in Cincinnati, knowing this is a Raider show, but Joe Burrow is needed in Cincinnati, and I just feel like trying to give up all that to get the number one pick. If we get the number one pick, we're not picking a quarterback. Even if this scenario goes down, which I think it wasn't, I think it's a good question. Don't get me wrong, but if we do get the number one pick, we're not picking no quarterback. We're letting you know that right now. We're going strictly defense as the number one pick.
Chase
That
Young.
that's just what it is. If I don't see a wide receiver going number one, I don't think we'll ever pick a wide receiver at number one overall. But defensively, I could definitely see us getting that if we have the number one overall pick. But kind of like I don't see it happen. I just don't see it happening though. But
No,
if
I don't see it happening. Yeah, I mean, I could see them jumping up and getting Isaiah Simmons before I see that scenario happening, and I don't see either of them happening.
yeah, I can absolutely agree with that. But just to let you know, we do have oh, so Randy Sanders says two second round, one third round, one fourth round, one fifth round, and the fifth round, 12, 19, 80, 81, 91,
Yeah, those
121,
are
and
those are the
151.
those are the picks we got this year.
Oh, okay, okay. So we don't have no second round. We don't have no second round pick, but we do have one in the fourth and one in the fifth. So we do got a fifth round pick. We just don't, I don't think we have any in the sixth or the seventh. That's what it's looking like,
Right.
according to what Randy is saying. But if you do want to call into the show and you want to have your voice heard and have your opinion on the off season for the Raiders, let us know now. Call us at 267-776-4735. You can look in the comments real quick. I'm just going to get me another bottle of water. We'll be right back. If y'all want to call in, I can hear it because I'm on the kitchen's right there.
So let's see here. We got in the comments section. Yeah, we're pretty much caught up here. Yo, Bob Money, how's it going? Um, let's see if we missed anything here. Randy Sanders, yeah. Yeah, thanks for that update there, Randy. That's pretty much, shows you that's a lot of draft capital they got. So I think that they're going to be able to package some of those third round picks, like I said, either move into the second potentially, or leverage those somehow, or get some depth signings there.
All right, I'm back. I had to say that was really really quick. But we're waiting for people to call in. If we don't call in, we can definitely go into the final topic of the day that I kept last. Um, and I kept it last because I just thought it was a very interesting topic. Knowing that the Raiders were back then was known for bad draft picks or bad free agencies back in the day. But I thought it was pretty interesting to read up on when I looked at it, and it was a Raiders April Fools, but it was like the five worst picks in Raiders history. I don't know. Did you see the list already?
Yeah, I did see the list. I think you said something about draft picks, and then there was one about free agency too. But I definitely, I saw the draft picks. I agree with them. We can go through them real quick.
Absolutely. Yeah, we could definitely go through them. So I don't know if they go from number five to number. No, they don't actually put it in no order for what I see. So the first one that I see, is Patrick Bates. Now, this is actually draft picks, not free agencies. So he
Yeah,
was the number. He was the number 12 overall pick in 1993. Um, he stepped away from football after being with the Raiders after the '94 season. Um, he was the number 12 overall pick. Traded to the Atlanta Falcons for a second round pick. Falcons released him. Worst trade acquisition than Bates. He never played a down of football after '96. Um, now it's rumors that he's more interested in a music career, hanging out with Snoop Dogg, Warren G, blah blah blah.
yeah.
But
Patrick Bates, that was a real bum out signing because that was right after we had Ronnie Lott on the team in the early '90s, and that one year that we had Ronnie Lott, it was Ronnie Lott and Eddie Anderson, I believe, were the safeties, and that was a great safety tandem. Actually, that secondary was one of the best secondaries in the league in 1991. Uh, One of my favorite Raiders of all time, Terry McDaniel, was on that team. Lionel Washington, and once they needed to get younger because Eddie Anderson wasn't getting any younger either. Patrick Bates was supposed to come in and really be the next guy at safety for the Raiders. And, as it says, he just really never panned out and wasn't a player at all. He reminds me a little bit of a player that wasn't on the list, but was a disappointing safety as well, and that's Derek Gibson, who was, I believe, the 2000 or 2001 first round draft pick. We really needed safety help then, and he just really didn't deliver.
absolutely, absolutely. So the number four, I absolutely agree with this one. Robert Gallery, offensive lineman, the numbers two overall pick in the 2004 NFL draft. Gallery, I just think he was overhyped. I didn't like this pick at all. He was just overhyped to me, and he
I
just
don't
couldn't.
know.
I was not a big
This
fan of him.
this doesn't really. This doesn't sit well with me, and I'll tell you why. Everyone in the world, because everyone's like, oh, they could have picked this person or this person. Every pundit said Robert Gallery is a sure lock as your starting left tackle for 10 years. He's the best offensive line prospect, a can't miss prospect. And the Raiders needed that. And so that's what they took. And I honestly, the guy not only he played a career, he wasn't a number one offensive tackle. They had to kind of move him down the line, but he ended up playing about 6 years for the Raiders at guard, and he wasn't that bad. And I think he ended up playing about an 8 or 9, 10 year career on the NFL. So I don't think that he's one of the worst draft picks for the
I
Raiders. And
don't. I don't think he was one of the worst, but as a top five worst, no. I mean, he was okay, but I just think they didn't live up to the hype that that like the draft experts was giving him. I just think he just didn't live up to that hype. But I mean, as far as top five, no. I'll say about he'll be like number 10 for me, but not number five.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's another
he's a
thing
myth.
too. He just couldn't stay healthy either.
Yeah, he's a myth. He's not. He's certainly not. One of the best draft picks. But I don't know. When people kind of put him on this list, it bugs me. But obviously, he's a second number two overall pick, and you really need those guys to produce.
Now the number three worst draft pick of all what is considered. This is all according to JustBallBaby.com, which is number three, Renardo McClain, linebacker, number eighth overall pick in 2010. Now I wouldn't say this was a worst draft pick. I just think the kid could play. We watched him play in Alabama. The kid can play. I think it was just a mental thing for him off the field that kept him off the field. So I don't really think it was a worse draft pick. We just didn't know. Like, I think when we drafted him, I think he didn't have, from what I've seen, I didn't see any issues with him coming out of college as far as like mental illness or stuff that he was getting into off the field. It's to when he got drafted. That's when the true colors came out about Ronaldo McClain.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, well, he was a top 10 pick and was supposed to save our defense and didn't. I think that he certainly was not what the Raiders wanted. If they want to call him one of the biggest busts, sure. I really didn't like what happened. And unfortunately, he ended up being a pretty solid player for the Cowboys. But,
right,
his off the field stuff, it really didn't click here with the Raiders. It was a bad pick. I mean, I honestly like him. I think it's more disappointment that he didn't bring what he was supposed to.
right. And the number two worst draft picks in history, according to JustBallBabies.com, is I cannot pronounce this last name. It's quarterback Todd. I think it's Marinovich.
Todd Marinovich, right?
Oh, Marinovich. Yup, quarterback number 24th overall in 1991.
I mean, honestly, like these two, and we all know who number one is. I mean, it could be the worst draft pick in the history of the NFL. But I mean, as far as Todd Marinovich, I mean, you look at what happened when you swing for the fences and try to pick a franchise quarterback and fail. The Raiders have done it multiple times. In the 80s, they picked Mark Wilson. It didn't turn out right. In the 90s, they picked, Todd Marinovich. Didn't turn out. He just really couldn't have the drive and the ability. And I will say this: if you guys have the chance to watch the 30 for 30 about Todd Marinovich, that's a worthwhile watch. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, and he just didn't work out. And that's a time when the Raiders just needed a good quarterback. You had a great defense. You had Bo Jackson. You had Marcus Allen. And then you drafted Nick Bell, who had a great rookie year. You had a good team in the early '90s, and then all of a sudden you want to bring in a franchise quarterback, and he just couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, and just from looking at what they had with the 2 seasons he was with the Raiders, he did start 8 games. He had 1,345 yards, 8 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 50% completion percentage. So yeah, we should all know who number one is, and of course it's going to be I think it was Jamarcus Russell, right?
Who else would it be?
Yeah, who else would it be? Because Jamarcus Russell, um, I, I was just so disappointed in this pick because a lot of the nation loved this pick when we got him. I was not impressed. I was one of those Raiders fans that was on the fence. Like, no, I did not want Jamarcus Russell. I did not want him just because I really thought that he was overhyped. I thought he was overrated, and I think he just didn't fit us. And I still say it to this day. I still didn't like Jamarcus Russell at all. And with Jamarcus Russell, we knew coming in he gained so much weight from the draft to being with us. He didn't have no work ethic. He did not care about being with us. Just because he threw a deep ball with no pads on and he was throwing it, like 60, 70 yards, I just thought it was a bad pick. I hated this pick so badly.
Yeah, that was really again. That was in the 2000s, and that was a third straight decade they tried to get their quarterback of the future, and it didn't work. And it's part of why the Raiders haven't won a Super Bowl since the 80s. This is you can't swing and miss 3 times on your franchise player, and they really did. And he just was a bad pick. I didn't like it at all either.
Okay. All right, cool. Yep. So let's so it is some more questions coming in. We definitely going to highlight it because they're not calling into the show. So J Dog says, should we draft AJ Terrell Clemson from cornerback from Clemson?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like him. I mean, I think that he's a talent, and I think that they very well could pick him for sure. I like him a lot.
And he said he will take Terrell over Delpit. I agree too. I think AJ Terrell is more athletic than Delpit. Delpit is just one of those corners that can actually tackle and hit hard. But as far as coverage, I think Terrell's a little bit a better of a coverage corner than Delpit is. He said Robert Bradley could stay healthy. Okay. So J Dog says, should we draft all defense and just run the ball?
I'm sure Gruden would love that.
I mean, I would love for us to run the ball and draft all defense, but at the end of the day, we still need a receiver. So I think that's the only need we really need on the offensive, on the offensive side. But I think if we do get more offense on in the draft, it's just gonna be for depth reasons only. Um, Beast Mode says, do we need a wide receiver more than a cornerback?
I would say probably at this point, a starting wide receiver more so than a starting quarterback. I would say probably yes.
Yeah, I'll say yes as well. I think like I said before, if we go get a cornerback first at 12 or a wide receiver first at 12, either way, that 19th pick is going to be a wide receiver or a corner, depending on what we get at number 12.
We'll get
Or
them both. Don't worry about it.
right, we're going to get them both, so we're definitely going to fill that need. Um, J Dawg said, "Too bad Martavius Bryant didn't play out." Yeah, that was a lot to go with it too. He messed up his career in Pittsburgh, and then he tried to revive it with us, and it just didn't work out. Um, and he says, "How did we lose Aldon Smith? I thought he was still Raiders. I never heard nothing about us letting him go."
Yeah, I don't really know exactly how. I guess his contract kind of the Raiders just released him, or he wasn't Raiders property anymore. And when he got reassigned, Dallas picked him up. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, at this point, do you really want to go ahead and mess around with that? First time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me. I don't need to mess around with all
I
this.
just think Aldon
If he
Smith
can get
had too
his,
many
if he
chances
can
with
get
us.
his shit together, good for him, and I hope he stays healthy.
Right, and I have to agree. I just felt as though we gave him too many chances to get back on the field and get himself together. Because knowing that he was great and he was great as a 49er. He was great as a 49er. Don't get us wrong, but at the same time, he just could not get his act together to stay on the football field. That's why I think we just released him, and the Raiders didn't want to put it out there, let them know that we released him. And the Cowboys, I think it was the Cowboys that picked him up, right?
Yeah, it was the
Yeah, the
Cowboys.
Cowboys that picked them up. Best of luck to them. Yeah, that's what I said, James. Like, who cares? Aldon Smith can't get right anyway, and he went to a team that can't get right, and that's the Dallas Cowboys. So
Match
it
made in heaven.
match made in heaven, y'all. Match made in heaven. Um, if you do have any more questions for us in the chat, please let us know. We almost at the 2 hour mark. We are taking all questions. Since you're not calling into the show, we will take all the questions here and I'll highlight them for y'all and have other people subscribe and stuff like that. But please subscribe to this channel, man. All Raiders content will be on this channel. We'll go back to Sundays. Starting this week, knowing that I had to do WrestleMania for the last 2 days, and I'm kind of over it that the fact that I had to do WrestleMania for the last 2 days. But I end up doing that. But so yeah, what are you looking forward to the draft? As far as what are you looking forward to as far as you see anything like shockers? Do you see any trades? Because I know it's been rumors that the Raiders is trying to trade up. I don't know if those rumors are true. What you're looking forward to the draft?
As far as looking forward to, I'm looking forward to the Raiders picking the best two players at 12 and 19. I think there's going to be a lot of trades. I don't think the Raiders are going to be involved in any for number 12. I think they're definitely going to pick that, keep that pick. 19, they might trade back. They might trade, back to the end of the first round. They have a lot of options, so it is pretty exciting. So, yeah, that's what I'm pretty much excited for, the options that they have for day one.
All right. So James Sayer says trade up for Isaiah. Hopefully, depend. I feel like if we go to trade up, we're not going to trade up too high. We're not going to trade up too high. I think if we'll trade, we'll go into the top 10, knowing that we already number 12. I'll say if we do trade that number, if we do move up, the most we'll probably move to is like number 6 is the most.
Somebody just wrote, if he falls to like the 7, 8, if he falls further than 3, 4, 5, then maybe the Raiders jump up and grab him perhaps. But I don't see him. I don't see them jumping up to 3 or 4 and getting Okuda or Simmons or something like that. I just don't see them doing that. I see them keeping their assets.
Yeah. And J Dog says, "You think the Raiders meeting with Herbert means anything? Remember, they also met with Kyler Murray and Dwayne Haskins."
No, I mean they can meet with anybody. At this point, it's no use speculating with who they're meeting with, who they're not. I mean, they draft people that they haven't met with at all, and guys are like, "I never talked to the Raiders," and they pick me. So I wouldn't get too crazy about any of that.
Yeah, I'm not really too big on, having a meeting with players right now because you just never know. Herbert might go before the time we have to pick. So we just don't know. Herbert is not just talking to us; he's talking to all other 31 teams as well. So, I mean, Justin Herbert's a good player. He's a good athlete. Don't get me wrong. Um, but I mean, I'm not really too. I mean, it might mean something if we pick him, but if we don't, it's not going to mean anything. James Sawyer says that Isaiah Simmons is a pure athlete. You could put him anywhere as a linebacker. Yes, you could put him
You
down
could,
on.
I don't know where his. I think that's the thing. They don't really know what his position is, but I think that that would be something that a defensive coordinator would want to find out. Is his best fit.
Right. And knowing that, like, me personally, if I was a coach, like, sometimes I would bring him down to the line and have him stand up and rush. But at the same time, for what I've seen film on Isaiah Simmons, I would love to see him in coverage with Corey Littleton. I think it just really helps out our pass coverage because don't get me wrong, we can stop the run, and I said this earlier in the show. We can stop the run. I think that wasn't our issue. Our issue was we couldn't cover at the linebacker position. That was just our number one problem.
Right.
Um, and it says we still need a number one linebacker and cornerback just in case of injuries. What happens if one of those linebackers go down? If
I
we go
mean,
right back to where we
I
are
think that
currently.
I think we're going to get depth. We have our number one linebacker. We didn't have even a number one linebacker last year. So I think that our depth is a little bit better, and Mayak's going to draft more linebackers. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to think that way, but I just don't see the value of a guy like Murray now that we have Littleton in the first round at this point, comparatively to getting a starting quality cornerback in the first round this year. I think that the talent level is a little bit higher.
And James Sawyer says if Love or Herbert falls to us, do we draft them?
In the first round, no.
I think if they fall to us in the later rounds, like if he goes to like if we get like down to the fourth or the fifth, which I think Herbert is not going to fall down that far. I think the Miami Dolphins is going to pick Herbert, just in my personal opinion, just what they did in free agency. So I think Herbert's going to be off the board. Now, the only way Jordan Love comes to us is going to be in the later rounds, but I don't see him going in the later rounds either. I think the New England Patriots get him at the end of the first round. That was just in a mock draft that I did put up here on YouTube, so definitely go check that out. That mock draft is almost at 6,000 views for that mock draft. That mock draft did have us going with Brown, the defensive tackle with Auburn. But I do have to update my mock draft before then. So I don't see us fall. If they fall to us, I don't think we're getting either of them.
No, I don't. I don't think so. I don't think so. Although I do think that Brown is a guy that if he for some reason I don't see him doing that, but like that's another guy where it's like if a talent like that falls to you, you go ahead and pick him at 12. But I really think they're going to go wide receiver unless something like that happens.
Right, right. And we have a you said we can still pick up a good linebacker at the third. Yeah, absolutely. This is a deep linebacker draft. Like most of these positions are deep. Most of these positions for the draft, like these college players, a lot of good players declared for the draft this year, and that's why I think it's going to be very interesting to see what players pick because even though you missed out on one person doesn't mean you're gonna miss out on another good person because it's like there's so much depth and so much talent in this draft. I don't think you're going to actually miss out on picking up a good player. What's going on, Herman? What's going on, Herman? Raider Nation to you. RN4L. Um, do y'all have? Let me see. It's another one. James Sawyers. He says, "Do any interest in Jalen Hurts? Then you can't believe Carr get us over the hump, do you?" Huh.
I mean, I do. I think that I don't think he's a top quarterback, but I do think that Derek Carr can win with the Raiders with more talent on offense. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I don't think he's one of the best quarterbacks. I don't think that he is the reason why our team is bad. Can we get a better quarterback? Yes. Is anybody playing quarterback in the draft right now better than him for the Raiders in 2020? No, I don't think so. I don't think you have a better chance of winning football games in 2020 with anybody from this draft. And I know that the Raiders want to win football games in 2020.
Right, and I can actually back you up on that. There is no quarterback in the draft that would get us over the hump right now. I think Derek Carr could get us over the hump right now. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the league, but he is a top five. He's the top five quarterback in completion percentage. Is he a top quarterback because he's not a top five quarterback because he's not flashy? He's not in the limelight. He's Derek Carr at the end of the day. And he's going to be under John Gruden offense for a third year. Once you get offensive weapons around Derek Carr, and we've seen it in the 2016 season, that when you do have weapons around him, magic happens. And that's what I think he needs. He needs outside of Darren Waller, outside of Hunter Renfrow, now we get Tyrell Williams back healthy and get a good receiver out in the draft. You just have to build around Derek Carr. You have to think about it. The year that he was in 2016, he had a team. He had an okay defense. You got and this is the only problem I had with some of the people from the Raider Nation is because they think Derek Carr is the reason why we lose games. It's not just Derek Carr. It's the offensive line. It could be the defensive line. It could be the corners. It could be safeties.
And I get it. You're in a division with a guy that is single handedly the best player in the NFL, and he is winning games for Kansas City. Mahomes is he's a quarterback that can do that. There are quarterbacks that can do that. I think that we're all aware that Derek Carr is not that quarterback, but you give him, talent around him, he's going to be able to manage a game, and John Gruden's going to be able to make a game plan that can win football games, and we can go to the playoffs and finally have a good offseason or a good, postseason. Somebody posted something about Javon Kinlaw, George Whitley. I read somewhere, and I have to find the link to it, but apparently Mayock and Gruden do not like Javon Kinlaw. That is documented. Apparently, that's one guy they don't want to pick.
Yeah, they did. They actually did like the defensive lineman from Auburn. Then they like Kinlaw. So that's. I mean, I don't. That's if that's documented, then that's fine by me. I don't really see the hype in Kinlaw. That's how I felt about Clowney when he came in, but Clowney came in and started off slow. Yeah. But James said, good take on Carr. I respect the stats. Yeah, I respect the stats too. The numbers don't lie. At the end of the day, once you give Carr more weapons, then the playbook will open up. I think the offense, knowing that we didn't end up having Antonio Brown and things didn't work out the way it was, I think it closed the playbook a little bit more, knowing that Hunter Renfrow as a rookie had to step up to the plate. Then you had to make sure Zay Jones comes in off of a trade to get acclimated to John Gruden's offense in a trade. And then Tyrell Williams, new to the system. Only person that was really new to the system like that was Derek Carr as far as skill players at that point. Tyrell Williams wasn't there the year before. Hunter Renfrow wasn't there the year before. Josh Jacobs was not there the year before. The offensive line, I can say, yes, they were there. But at the same time, those wide receivers really didn't know much about the offense. Now they're under a year being under John Gruden's offense. I think John Gruden's going to open up the offense a little bit more for Derek Carr. So hopefully we get them weapons in the draft and, we could put up some more numbers.
Yeah, and I think that's going to happen.
All right, so another question here says, Mariota does not push or scare Carr, maybe a couple games, then right back to Carr if it happens.
I mean, that's pretty much why he's here, right? Like, he's here to push Derek Carr. Derek Carr, I think that he is going to get. He's gotten the message right. I mean, Derek Carr is not Mahomes. He's not a great quarterback, but he's going to be pushed, and he's going to continue to perform at an okay level. John Gruden's offense is going to win this year. It's not going to be Derek Carr like being like Mahomes.
Right. We don't want to compare him to Patrick Mahomes. You got to think about it. Mahomes is the best quarterback in our division. Period. If you look at our division,
He's
if you
he's
look
the
at
best football player in the league. Period.
right, if you look at our division, it's Patrick Mahomes, Derek Carr, now it's Tyrod Taylor and Drew Lock. So it's not really quarterback competition to Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes is here and the rest of us is like down here. If you just want to be honest, so yeah, I mean he's not Mahomes. He's not Mahomes, and a lot of quarterbacks are not Mahomes. You can't really do the comparison. Marcus Mallory says, "What if we get two wide receivers, Jerry Judy and maybe Claypool? Only say that because Carr likes big targets.
Maybe.
That's a possibility. Even
I
with
mean, getting the two wide receivers early in the draft is a possibility for sure, but I definitely think that number 12 is one of them.
yeah, number 12 is definitely one of them in my opinion. J Dog says, I love the Randall signing. F Apple. That's how I feel too.
F Apple.
That's how I feel too. F Apple. Apple was not going to come in and do anything for us when I really wanted to give. Like I just didn't know what they saw in him, and then we got Randall for more cheaper than what we was giving Apple. If Apple would have stayed with us, so I really do like the Randall signing. So forget Apple. Save it for Lawrence of Clemson if all goes wrong. If Mayock work on his magic.
If Mayock can work his magic, we don't have to worry about Lawrence from Clemson. But I agree that he's your guy for next year. If everything goes crappy and you put it all into Lawrence next year.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You got to look at what Lawrence, what his year is going to be like, knowing that he did win a national championship his first year with Clemson, and then went back to the national championship and lost to LSU. Honestly, he got demolished by LSU. But if he goes back and he wins another championship, I can see the Raiders going after him, especially if it's not working out with us offensively with Derek Carr. J Dawg says, will Randall play safety or corner is the question. I think it's going to be a mix and match.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a mix and match, and I think it's going to be depending on the team that we play. If they have a real primary number one receiver, I wouldn't mind Randall playing corner. It depends on that one primary receiver. Like if we're playing the Vikings, I would love for the Marius Randall to play against Adam Thielen, and whoever safety we get, whatever safety that we get, even in free agency after the draft or get one in the draft, put them back there. But it just really depends on the scheme. It depends on the teams that we're actually playing.
Yeah, let's see how he fits in the defense, and let's see how Paul Gunther wants to use him. But I could see him being a hybrid of either.
Absolutely. So there you have it, guys. There you have it. We are at the 2-hour mark. I don't want to go any further. I did want to get this live Q&A. This was an awesome live Q&A. Thank y'all for interacting in here. Please subscribe to the channel for more Raiders content. I'll be having more Raiders content uploaded this week. I'll be doing another Raiders mock draft, which was the different one from what I did on here already. Do an updated mock draft, and I'll be doing just an all NFL mock draft as well. So he says that the way you scare Carr is to tell him that you don't beat Mahomes the first time you see him.
Yeah,
this year you're gone. I don't know about that.
I wish they
either.
could do that, but
I wish we could do that too.
Thanks for dropping in, guys. Appreciate all the questions, and stay safe out there, and remember to wash your hands.
Yes, please stay safe out there. A lot of people are being very hard-headed, not still going out there thinking everything is fine. No, this is really a pandemic, and it's kind of hurting us as sports fans, as Raiders fans as well, knowing that the draft is going on virtually, which is very different for us. And now we have to do everything virtually now because our studio is shut down as well in Philadelphia, and my guy's not even back in Philadelphia yet. So it kind of sucks, but thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for tuning in from Facebook and from YouTube as well. Thank y'all so much. We'll see y'all this Sunday with more updated news. If I don't do the mock draft this week, I will definitely do it on the show. But me and Eli will definitely talk about that. Comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. Spotlight Sports Talk, Raider Nation. We love you to death, and we'll see y'all Sunday. I think Sunday at 7 should be good for me too.
Sunday at 7.
Sunday at 7.
Raiders.
Touchdown Raiders. We'll see y'all on Sunday at 7 p.m.